Some blockbuster AEW news as their media rights deal with WBD seems to be confirmed. We are now learning new details about the amount and the length of AEW's new TV deal, courtesy of Puck News and Fightful. How long is AEW TV going to remain on WBD? How much are they going to get paid? Did they get to that magical $1 billion number that CM Punk teased a couple of years ago? We're going to talk about it. I'm going to tell you everything you need to know as we have finally reached the point where we are learning some juicy details about this situation. Before we get into that, though, be sure to smash that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. I'm excited, everyone, because this is something that I've been talking about. This is something that I've been teasing. This is a moment and some news that I have tried my best to analyze over the past couple of months, and we are finally learning new details courtesy of Puck News, and this is an aggregation, I should say, from Brandon Thurston. So Brandon Thurston tweeted this out. John Orand at Puck reports AEW's new media deal with WBD looks like, and that's a quote, looks like it will be a 4-year deal, 3 years guaranteed with a 1-year option. It is not clarified whether the option is a WBD option or an AEW option, but it's a 1-year option. Goes on to say, Oren says $170 million per year is apparently in the ballpark. He says AEW will air on TNT, TBS, and True TV twice per week as part of a strategy to make True TV more sports-oriented. The announcement of a deal could come as soon as next week, barring any last-minute changes. He says AEW is pitching an additional package to broadcast networks. The report at one point refers to AEW as second-tier wrestling, though Orand writes that the deal marks a clear success for AEW. Brandon Thurston also went on to say, notably no mention of content for the Max streaming service for whatever it's worth. And that is the extent of that portion. We are going to delve into a Fightful report that talks about Max and how that could actually play into this. But 3 years with a 1-year option and the ballpark, again, the ballpark of $170 million per year. And that deal, and this, if I'm reading it right, and if I think that we're all reading it right, is just for TV. So when you're talking about that, and, you know, when we're talking about AEW and where they've kind of been, like, it is important to note that this is not a company that had been getting, you know, like over $100 million. It's a company that was estimated at getting $44 million on the original Dynamite deal that they signed in the beginning of 2020. That is after they did that little trial run in the last quarter of 2019. And if we look at this graph courtesy of WrestleNomics, he's actually estimated, Brandon Thurston has, that the overall deal for AEW with Rampage, Dynamite, and Collision with WBD as it stands is somewhere in the ballpark of $70 million. And again, that is an estimate according to WrestleNomics. So when you factor that in and you're looking at $170 million just for TV, and you're coming from a place where it's like, let's say between 70 to even 80, $90 million per annum for Dynamite and Collision, that is a monstrous increase, a monumental increase. That is honestly one of the best case scenarios. I've always said that the deal that I foresee for AEW would be all-encompassing, somewhere in the ballpark of $150 million to $200 million. I was never one of those people who tried to put and, force this narrative that it had to be $1 billion in order to, be successful. Because the reality is, what matters more than the big overall number is the guaranteed per annum, per year annual number. WWE like they're not as concerned about the length of the deal. Obviously, you want somewhere around the 4 or 5 year deal, which is again right around what AEW got here, but you really want, and you're worried about how much you're getting annually. That is what allows you to set your annual budgets. That's what allows you to plan for the future. That is what allows you to sustain your business year to year, because that's how most companies think. So when you're talking about, upwards of $170 million, potentially more than that, if this max component also figures into it, that is a monumental success for All Elite Wrestling. It is reported that this is going to make them profitable, and we do have some more insight into this as FightfulSelect.com has a report out, and I'm going to read a little bit of an excerpt from that report. Sources we've spoken to at AEW say that things have been tight-lipped about the future of the deal, and that talent have not been privy to the details of the AEW's TV future or the future of pay-per-views. However, several on both sides we've spoken to believe that the max pay-per-view and streaming deals very well could be separate from the amount outlined by Orand, and that is the original Puck News piece that I was talking about earlier. Went on to say, and a part of a different deal the two sides are working on. $200 million was a large benchmark, which led to the one Bill Phil talking points, which referenced AEW being able to get an all-encompassing deal of $200 million per year on average over 5 years, equaling $1 billion total. While the length of the deal wouldn't get them there, $170 million figure plus an additional pay-per-view deal or revenue as well as outside packages likely would. Fightful reported earlier this summer that AEW had already been offered at least double their previous rights fees just after the Olympics. Another deal has been sent AEW's way, which we're told was lengthy and needed to be heavily reviewed. As of AEW All Out Weekend, WBD sources told Fightful that talks were amicable and ongoing. Okay, lot to unpack there. By the way, if you want to read the full FightfulSelect.com piece and the Puck News piece, please check out the link in the description below. But before you do that, let's talk about this, because this is kind of insane, because I said $150 to $200 million was my estimate, and it seems like, again, if what the reports are saying are true, it seems like it is going to be towards that top number, towards that $200 million benchmark that Fightful was talking about, which, again, in that case, Tony Khan has alluded to this. He believes that this deal will make them profitable. $200 million per year over 3 or 4 years will 100% do that for this company. That is a monumental moment. It's insane, because when you think about other wrestling companies, we're going to contextualize this. TNA never got close to anything like this in the television rights world. We have to go back to even WCW, really. When it was owned by Time Warner, it's really hard to look at the numbers and the amount of money that was coming in, because a lot of that was kind of covered by different books, and because it was owned by Time Warner, or Turner at the time, excuse me. It's a very weird deal, because we're not sure how much money Turner was putting into the thing, given how much money was coming back. We do know there were a couple of years there where WCW was highly profitable and was a big moneymaker for Turner Sports. However, it quickly did not end up being that. And I think partially that was due to the fact that it was owned by Turner, and Turner kind of fudged with the books, whatever you want to say. There's a lot of different things there. But new regime, new time, new moment, new WBD, and they are going all in on AEW, it would seem. And I've always said this, right? Tony Khan from the beginning has understood that the success of AEW hinges on its ability to create content that keeps viewers engaged and to capitalize on a market of wrestling that there have been millions, around 1 million people are tuning into on a weekly basis. And that is if you account for the DVR plus 3, which I know many of you will scoff at, but it is true. And when you look at that, and you look at the ability to remain consistent for AEW on pay-per-view over a span of 5 years, and it don't seem to be slowing down. In fact, they seem to be expanding, as it looks like their Australia show is selling very well. They just had 50,000 people at Wembley Stadium. You just had a show last year where you had the largest ticketed gate in European history. Like, this is a company that seems to be ramping up. And we talked about growing pains for All Elite Wrestling. They had gone through a whole bunch of growing pains over the last couple of years. But right now, it seems like this is a monumental moment and a monumental shift into the way people are going to view AEW. Because now it's like, okay, not only are you past the startup phase, but you're now at a place where there's going to be some things that are expected to be a lot more tight, right? And there's going to be a lot more expectations on the product being at a certain level, which, you know, you could argue that AEW, that is their strong suit, producing a great television show. But at the same time, now is the time for you to use that extra money, use that extra leverage, use the buy-in, for lack of a better term, from Warner to grow your product. And that is like the next evolution. We'll see if AEW can do that, because it's one thing to keep something as successful as it is, but growing it, and again, growing it means a lot of different things. It's not just television, because if we look at that, television ratings are down across wrestling year over year, but that's because cord cutting is happening. But it means like having, you know, reach on social media. It means having the ability to sell out arenas, which WWE is doing, which AEW, quite frankly, right now, outside of you know, their big pay-per-views, they're not really doing. So that is the next step. Establish yourself as not only the challenger brand that you claim to be, but use the money and the leverage from this contract in order to grow the brand into something that people think about when they think about pro wrestling. Because right now, you ask anyone in the street what they think about when they think about pro wrestling, it's WWE. You need to be, and you need to like wiggle your way into that conversation. And it's a hard thing to do. WWE has had market dominance over professional wrestling for nearly 40 years at this point, and they do not seem to be slowing down. So for AEW, it's going to be tough sledding to do that, but it is part of the natural progression of their business. That does not mean that if AEW doesn't become bigger than WWE, which no real person, I should say, is putting that expectation on them, but that does not mean that the expectation is AEW to be as big as WWE, but it is to get more of the market share than they have right now. So that is what it is. And again, I'm not going to lie. I am a little bit shocked that that the numbers that are coming out, not in that I didn't expect them to be in this ballpark, but if it's $200 million per year for Dynamite, Collision, and the Max deal as well, if that's what we're looking at, that opens up room for AEW to potentially have another show on a Fox or on broadcast television somewhere else. We see those negotiations reported to be still happening. I think that this is going to be a very interesting couple of weeks in professional wrestling. We know Tony Khan, obviously, at the All Out Media Scrum, said that there was a 90% chance that within the next month they would announce that deal. At this rate, I could very well see AEW Grand Slam being the moment where they announce that deal. It being in New York, which is a big media ecosystem and a big media town. I could very well see that being the place where they announce it. And I think they're going to put out the full court press for it, and they should put out the full court press for it. This is the biggest deal that AEW's ever made. It's the biggest deal, honestly, that Tony Khan has ever made, because I'm not going to count the Jaguars deal because that was his dad. But this is an insane thing. We never thought a couple of years ago that any wrestling company would be able to get this. Like, this is a real, viable, profitable television deal that is going to set up AEW for a lot of success, because not only are you going to have this, but you're going to have a bigger budget to work with, a bigger budget for marketing, a bigger budget for hopefully your merchandise, a bigger budget for talent. And 2025 is a very interesting year for talent. I mentioned Kevin Owens as a guy whose contract is coming up. There's a lot more than that in 2025. And if we're being honest, it might be time for AEW to say, here comes the money. Guys, huge day in the world of professional wrestling. Obviously, we will see when AEW does confirm this news. We will see what the details of this are. I want to hear from you guys, though. What do you guys think about this? Do you guys think that AEW got the right amount of money? Do you think they got overpaid? Do you think WBD overpaid? Do you think they didn't get enough? Let me know in the comment section below. Also, if you haven't already done so, please leave a thumbs up on this video. It really helps out the algorithm, helps the channel grow. Also, remember to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Until next time, be happy, be healthy, and as always, keep it real.